Madam, good morning. You are muted, madam. We cannot hear you.
Thank you. So, since you have covered almost all the areas, we'll be starting the past paper discussion during the remaining weeks, and meanwhile, we develop your proposal further, right? That's our plan within the next 5 weeks. Okay, just to inquire about the progress of your proposal. Can anyone tell me what's the stage you are in? Jehan, you have a research topic. Yeah, good. And then what's the chapter that you are writing in these days? You have developed the research proposal, finalized it. No. So then what chapter you are polishing in these days? No idea. We just have, I hope you just have topic only. Right, okay. Kisa, you have a research topic. Then what's the stage you are in? Which chapter, which section you are writing in these days? You have to develop the research proposal based on your research topic. And then what chapter you are writing in these days? You completed research proposal done. Not all the students have completed, but some of the students have completed, right? Okay. That means almost all the chapters completed in the proposal. Fine tune karna hai. Okay. Right. How the pay? Yes, sir. Sorry? You are writing aim and opportunity. So, okay, good. How the pay? You are writing in these days problem statement. You have a research topic. Josh, research topic finalized. And then what chapter you are writing in these days?
Last week that I have is not sure about the topic. He suggested the topic. Might say
That's
sure.
You have to check. Okay.
Check.
What's your context for that? So big right.
General proposal है तो ये सामने
Develop करना general proposal का खबर okay बता या what general था तेरे का पेन अनकुल आता है
it's not really case like you have to
Okay. So we'll keep your proposal little bit away and then we'll start the research writing with the past paper discussion. So then I can understand what sort of a knowledge you have. So then we start the 17C paper at first. And then week by week, we'll develop your proposal. We have 5 weeks now, so then we can do it. Download the paper and then start the writing for the first question. Question number 1. Hope online students also can hear me. You all can start 17C. Yeah.
Hello, madam. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, madam, I have one question regarding the research proposal and the report. May I know for this, the student is completing only the 3rd year for the general degree. Still, they have to do the research.
Yeah, yes. It's compulsory. It's our CA component. So therefore, even you are getting out from the 3rd year or you are doing 4th year, it doesn't matter. You have to submit a research proposal.
No, madam, research report. I mean, no, 10,000 words with the 10,000 words.
No. Yeah, research proposal. You have to submit a research proposal. Not for 10,000. Just I have included some samples there, right? For the research proposal. You are just completing a research proposal. Just a proposal. Right? Not a report.
Okay, madam, research proposal is done by now. So we no need to work for the report, right?
No, if you have completed your proposal, that's done. No need to do again report.
Thank you so much,
So
madam.
have you gone through the samples including the LMS for the research proposal?
Sample we did not because last week only we
You can see here from the beginning of the course, we were given to you.
Okay.
A sample of the research proposal that you need to submit at the end of the semester. Hope you can see my screen. So this is the proposal format. There are 6 proposals, as I guess.
Mhm. Okay, madam. Are there word count limit okay, madam?
No word count limit. Can you see there? Week number 8, proposal format, and then sample 1, sample 2, and sample 3. Right? You all can see there are 3 samples for the research proposal. So then you can go through that proposal and develop your proposal as per the sample.
Okay, madam. Okay, understood. Thank you so much, madam.
Madam,
Yeah.
hello.
Yes, I can hear you also.
Ma'am, normally, what is the word count? Normally, generally,
No word count limit. We are not limiting our students for the word counts. The thing is, minimally when you are writing a proposal, it might get 4,000, around 4,000 words. Right? 4,000, 3,000 words might be there. Right?
Thank you, ma'am.
No any strict word count there, right? You all can start question number 1. So no, I will take the presentation. Right? So you just develop this one. So then you will be meaning 600 of right? Once after you complete this one, 14th week and 14th week, I'm taking the 1 by 1 presentations, right? 5-minute presentation from you and then confirm your topics to the CA marks, right? That's what we are normally doing. That's our practice. So that's on your research document. Okay. 17C past paper, first question. Have you all know the past paper structure? Past paper structure, you know? No, don't know. Okay. So research methodology past papers, there are 2 sections, right? Section A and section B. From the section A, there is a 1 question combining all the sections. This is the instruction. Section A, you have to answer all the questions. That's compulsory, right? Because that question entirely will be practical and then covering almost all the aspects of the syllabus, right? A to Z. Regarding the section B, you have to answer only 4 questions, right? Section A question 20 marks. Section B, you have 5 questions. Out of the 5 questions, you have to answer for only 4 questions, which carries 20 marks. So therefore, altogether 100 marks. First question, that is compulsory. Question number 1. Okay, you can see here, section A. Section A and section B. Section A answer all questions. That means only 1 question is there. That is compulsory. Right. Read the first question and then try to answer for the first question. You can go through your lecture materials and then answer it. Let's check whether we can complete that one. For doing this one, don't take the ChatGPT. Yeah? For the question number 1, don't take the ChatGPT. Because there is some reason. That's why I'm asking you to do it. Right? But what you were given in the question number 1, what you were given? What is that? You were given a small case. Right? Is that a small case? Is that a small case? No, that is what? That's an abstract, right? You were given the abstract, right? By giving you the abstract, what you're asking? The process of the research, right? There are how many questions? There are 8 questions from that abstract. Read the abstract and understand the abstract first. That is what you want to do. Just a copy and paste. But to copy and paste, you should have a proper understanding regarding research components because all the 8 questions are coming from entire syllabus. So meanwhile, when you are writing, you can listen as a normal practice of campus, how we are how we are evaluating proposals. You have to do a presentation, small presentation on your research topic, right? So I will upload the presentation format. In the 14th week and 15th week, you have to, after you develop your research, the proposal, you have to do a 5-minute presentation on your research topic, right? That's a compulsory, otherwise we are not accepting your research proposals. That's normally the practice. But you have to present what you have, what you are going to do in the 4th year. And then that's the eligible criteria for your CA. If you are not doing the presentation, you are not eligible for the proposal submissions, right? Except the proposal, you have to pass for the examination, therefore practice the past papers. That's why I have started, since you have covered almost all the syllabus. Because the proposal is only 40 marks presentation, and then the proposal, except that one, you have to practice, you have to participate for the exams also.
Madam, can you explain again this presentation, please, madam? I didn't get this one.
Yeah. So the thing is, after you prepare your research proposal, you have to present a small 5-minute presentation on what you are going to do in the 4th year or in your proposal, right? We share the format of the research proposal, the research proposal presentation. So we'll take the presentation on 14th and 15th week. That's a compulsory. Otherwise, if you are not doing a presentation in the 14th and 15th week, you are not eligible for the CA submission. That's the case.
Okay, madam.
Online
Understand. Thank you.
students, they can do it via online. That doesn't matter. But the physical students, they have to do it physically. Exemption students, they can do it via online. Hope you have some sort of idea regarding your research proposal. And then you show your research topic to the Dr. Shanta, and then take to some advisors. And based on those things, you are developing your proposal. If you further want to have the ideas or comments on your research topics, you can show it to me from this week onward. It doesn't matter. You had to answer for the first question. I'm taking the answers from you.
Yeah, we are Indian, I think.
Okay, you start right. Okay, we just go through the questions there. I will read the question first. The following abstracts is extracted from the research article published by Keshav and Nixon. Right? Who are they? Who are they? They are the authors of this research. What it says, is I read this one. Others listen, right? You read the entire abstract. Quickly. Traditional financial theories assume investors are rational decision makers. However, real world behavior often reflect emotional and psychological influences. First sentence. Now I will teach you the way of writing abstract by doing this question as well. Right? First sentence. What is it regards, Lama? That's the background of the research, right? First sentence summarize the background of the research. In every abstract, first 2-3 sentences should be given from the background of the research, right? That's the structured way. Then it says what? The study investigate how the behavioral factors such as loss aversion, overconfidence, herding, and risk perceptions impact on investment decision of individual investors in Sri Lanka. What is this? What is this? The study investigates The study investigate, the study estimate, the study examine, the study identify. What this is? You know this one. Exactly, this is research objective, right? What are the three components to be included the research objective? It should be started with action verb and then started with the to, and it should include independent and dependent variable. Let's check whether this statement, whether the second sentence is including these three components. Is this started with to? It started with action verb. What is the action verb? Investigate, right? Investigate. In the sentences, in the sentence cases, we can't study it with the to, right? You have to identify this study, right? This study is going to focus on to investigate. That's action verb here. Is there an independent and dependent variable? Yes, obviously. What are the independent variables here? There are 4 independent variables. What are these 4 independent variables? Loss aversion, overconfidence, herding, and risk perception. Loss aversion, overconfidence, herding, and risk perception are the independent variables. Independent variables. What is the dependent variable? Dependent variable is the investment decisions. Investment decisions, right? Investment decisions. What might be your unit of analysis? What might be your population? It's given there. What is it? Very easy. Individual investors in Sri Lanka. Right? Individual investors in Sri Lanka. Very clearly given us, this is the objective of this particular research. Okay, it focuses on 2 study questions. You were given now the question as well. What's the question? The first question. The impact of behavioral aspects on the investment decision making and the relationship between these behavioral traits and investment choice. We know question, research problem is divided into the research questions, and then research question is converted to the research objective. So accordingly, in this question include 2 research questions. First one is identifying the impact. Second one is checking the relationship. First one, there are 2 questions. You can see here the first question and then second one, relationship. A quantitative research choice, right? We know there are 2 types of research. You learn quantitative and the other one, what is it, Lamal? Rojit, what is it? Qualitative, right? What sort of research this is? This is quantitative study, right? Quantitative research. And employing the structured close-ended questionnaire. What is the data collection method? Structured data collection method is close-ended questionnaire. Data collection method. Data collection method. What's the measurement of this questionnaire? That is 5-point Likert scale, right? There are several scales of preparing when we are preparing the questionnaires. There might be several scales, basically 4 scales: nominal, ratio, and the other one interval, and the other one, what is the other one? Nominal, and then ordinal, ratio, and the other one interval scales. There are 4 scales. Out of this one, this is the 5-point Likert scale, interval scale. There might be sometimes 7-point Likert scale as well. So you might heard disagree, agree, strongly agree, neutral, and likewise. 5-point Likert scale. Data collection, right? Data collected from individual investors trading on Colombo Stock Exchange. What is this number? This is your unit of analysis, right? Data collected from individual investors. Very good, right? What is it? This is what? Your unit of analysis, individual investors. Unit of analysis reflecting what? From whom you are supposed to collect the data. From whom you are supposed to collect the data. Individual investors. Individual investors. The data analysis conducted by which software? E-Views, right? We know SPSS, E-Views, Smart PLS, NVivo, and then AMOS. There were plenty of research softwares, right? Out of these research softwares, what would be the what is the used research software is here, that is the E-Views. It is one of the good software to identify the secondary data analysis, right? Secondary data analysis. Hereinafter, what it says, findings reveal that, right? If you segregate this research, the first two sentences are coming from the introduction. First two are coming from the introduction. After second one, until the E-Views, right? Until the findings, what it shows to them. That is what? That is the methodology, right? Methodology. Methodology, right? First two sentences or first part of the abstract disclosing us introduction and sometimes literature review. Sometimes there might be, then here it has not been included. Some research might include the research study use theory like this, right? That means you summarize what? First two chapters in the first part of the abstract. In the mid of the abstract, it shows what? The used methodology for this research, right? If you read again here, what it says. A quantitative research, right? A quantitative research choice use, and then E-Views is the software. What it says, data collection method, unit of analysis. I'm collecting data from individual investors. I will collect the data via questionnaire, and that might be a 5-point Likert scale. This is a qualitative research. What these all are? These all are the methodology, right? So therefore, in mid of the research, it shows a methodology. It shows a methodology. Now coming from the findings, that means what? The results, right? The results part. Findings. Hereinafter we are starting what? Results. And results, and the other one, there might be some recommendations also. What findings reveal? Exactly, reveal that behavioral bias significantly influence on the investors, with the loss aversion and risk perception being dominated. Right? Those are the main factors. And the overconfidence and herding also affect the decision, but not to lesser extent. The study confirms a strong relationship with the behavioral aspects and the investment behavior, showing the investors do not always follow the rational investor models. It contributes means thereafter what it's showing. Recommendation and future insights, right? Future insights. But it shows. It contributes to new insight the behavioral finance by providing an empirical evidence from the Sri Lanka. That is the contribution. Contribution. Under the research, frontier market and then highlights need to investigate the intricate psychological dimension in the financial advisory and education for policymakers. Contribution as well as recommendations. Last part, recommendations. What are the main points included in this abstract? First part, introduction. Second, methodology. Third, your findings. And last one, what is it? Your recommendation and future insight. Right. Regarding your research proposal also, you want to write down a small abstract. Right? In your research sample also it's there. You want to write a small abstract. But can we include recommendations and findings? Can you include the recommendation and findings at the proposal stage? No, you can't. So then how can you write your research abstract? It should just include intro, LR, and only the methodology, right? It can't include what? Research findings and then the future recommendations. To include those things, you have to do a research and come up with the result. So therefore, in your proposal, when you are writing the abstract, there are no executive summaries. Right? You have to understand if it is a research proposal, what should be there? There is an abstract. Right? There should be abstract, not the executive summaries. So that abstract should reflect, as we discussed, the summary of 5 chapters, intro, LR, methodology, findings, and then recommendations. But for your proposals, you can't write what? You can't write the results and then recommendation. It should only include what, Lamai? Intro, LR, and then the methodology. Right? Intro, LR, and the methodology. Okay, first one. Design a research suitable topic. What is the research topic? What is the topic here? What is suggested topic? From where we can extract this research topic? If you can't develop it, from where you can extract this research topic? Research objective. What is objective there? What is investigate how behavioral factors such as observation, overconfidence, serving, and risk perception impact the investment decision of the individual investors. How can we convert the research object, research topic? The impact of behavioral bias on investment decision, right? Of individual investors in Sri Lanka. Write down the research topic. What is the topic? The impact of behavioral bias. The impact of behavioral bias on investment decision. On investment decision of individual investors in Sri Lanka. Of individual investors in Sri Lanka. The impact of behavioral bias on investment decision of individual investors in Sri Lanka. How many marks? Write down that small thing. How many marks we are giving to you? How many marks? 3 marks. Done. Okay. Right. Second one, very easy. Identify what? Identify the dependent and independent variables. What is the independent variable? Behavioral bias. But it includes 4 subcomponents, 4 sub-independent variables. What these are? Very good. Loss aversion, overconfidence, herding behavior. Other one, Risk perception. Okay, good. Dependent variable. Investment decision. Investment decision. Investment decision making or investment decision. Right. How many marks? 2 marks. Very easy. Third one. Outline. Okay. So the outline means what? What do you mean by outline? Outline means, do you need to write, elaborate? Do you need to explain? No. Outline means extracted from the abstract and just write. Outline. Nikam mention karana kenek vidara. Outline and say. Those are similar action verbs. So then what you need to do? You have to outline one research question. How many research questions included in this abstract? There are 2 questions, right? Let me know what is the one question. One question, let me know. Yes. Kisa, tell me.
The effects of behavioral experiment.
You know, we were given you the 2 questions, right? But when we are writing the question, what is the specific format of it? Like, you have to convert it to the, we were given the question in the sentence format. But what it does, outline the question. So then it should be in the questionable format. Right? Questionable format, which suit for what? Which suit for what? To the qualitative or quantitative? To the quantitative research. In a Liana research question, the quantitative with the outline. You have to understand. So then how can we write this? Let me know how to write it. What is? Yes, you can put the question format, right? How to start it? What? What is the impact of behavioral bias on investment decision? That is the first one. Anyone else can tell me the other question? What is the relationship between behavioral bias and the investment behavior? We can again rewrite with the does also. How can we write? How we are not taking, right? How in the sense it both apply the quantitative and qualitative. How if we take questionable format, how you have to elaborate it now. So then the questionable format should be a measurable one. If it is a directly one, you can use, right? Other one, does, right? Does behavioral bias impact on investment decision? You can rewrite like that also. Does behavioral bias impact on investment decision? Yes. Other one is, right? Other one, is there a relationship, right? Is there a relationship? Is there a relationship between behavioral bias and the investment decision? Now you have to focus for the exam, not to have A+. Is there a relationship between behavioral bias and the investment decision making? Okay, 3 marks. The fourth one, develop the conceptual framework. You also need this one. Conceptual framework. Illustrate what? Illustrate your independent and dependent in a which way? In a which way? Graphical way. Right? Graphical way. One side you are independent, the other side you are dependent, and then you have to link that dependent and independent. Okay. So we will rewrite. Open. My students, can you see my open board? Can you all see the open board?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Thank you. We know if it is a conceptual framework, how many sides? Left and right hand side is there. In the left hand side, with the window, this is must put up. Right? This is must. You have to place dependent on whatever the variable in the windows. Right? What is the independent variable? What is the dependent variable? Investment decisions. Investment decision. Investment decision. But so then this side, you don't want to name that one, but for your sake of understanding, I'm telling that this side dependent variable. Your right hand side should be the dependent variable. Left hand side, what should be there? Independent variable. IVs. How many IVs? 4 IVs. What are those? Let me know. What is the first one? Loss aversion. Next one. Overconfidence. Overconfidence. Fourth one. Third one. 30. 30 behavior. Fourth one. Risk perception. Good. Is that all completed? No. What should be the next step? You have to link independent and dependent. Loss aversion is impacting for the investment decision. Overconfident, impacting. Herding, impacting. Risk perception, impacting. Is that all? No. Right? What you need to do? Have to name this each and every arrow with the hypothesis. Right? Hypothesis. H1, right? H2, H3, H4, right? H4. Now we write down the hypothesis quickly, right? I know these things already told by Dr. Roshan, right? I have went through all lecture materials and prepared for the past paper discussion. H1, below the conceptual diagram, write it down. H1, this format is compulsory, right? You have to draw this conceptual framework like in your, it's like this in your proposal as well, right? H1. H1. Right? Copy this one as it is. Mention these variables within these windows. That's compulsory. That's why I draw that one. Otherwise, I also know what to draw this one. Okay, write it down. H1. H1. How to write H1? You have studied this with your statistics lecture also. H1. Right, write it down. There is a significant. There is a significant impact. Significant impact on H1 reflect. Get here now. H1 reflecting what? Loss to the investment decision. So how to write it then? There is a significant impact on the first variable independent loss aversion on investment decision. Investment decision, but we have to mention our sample as well. There is a significant impact of loss aversion on investment decision of investors in Sri Lanka. Individual investors, write it down. Of individual investors in Sri Lanka. Avisha, individual investors in Sri Lanka. We know that if it is writing the hypothesis, there are two hypotheses. This is the alternative. What should be the null hypothesis? There is no significant impact. Write it down. H0. 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 There is no impact. There is no impact. There is no impact. No significant impact. No significant impact of loss aversion on investment decision of individual investors in Sri Lanka. Individual investors in Sri Lanka. Another way of writing this alternative hypothesis, not always started, it should not always started with there is, right? Write it down. Alternative method for alternative method for alternative hypothesis. Alternative method for alternative hypothesis. As I told you, it should always start with there is. What should be other way? Loss aversion. Write it down. Loss aversion. Loss aversion. Right? Loss aversion. Significantly impact on. Significantly impact on. Loss aversion significantly impact on loss aversion significantly impact on investment decisions of individual investors in Sri Lanka. Loss aversion significantly impact on the investment decision of the investors in Sri Lanka. How to write that hypothesis? Null one. How to write? Loss aversion. Write it down. Null hypothesis. Loss aversion. Loss aversion. Significantly does not impact. Loss aversion significantly does not impact on investment decisions. On investment decisions of investors in Sri Lanka. Now quickly write down H3, H2, H4. Quickly write down, not null. Write down all alternative hypotheses. Whatever the method, I told you two methods. Whatever the methods, you write down the alternative hypothesis for H1, for H2, H3, H4. No need of null hypothesis. Null in the sense negative format, no, so then you can convert. Yes, we will come in. Okay. If the question asks, write the hypothesis, no need to null hypothesis, no need to write down the null hypothesis. Turn to the way of writing null hypothesis, I will do the null hypothesis, and for the conceptual framework, you don't want to write the hypothesis. Just only this one. This one is enough. Right? Yeah, for this question, there is enough, right? Why I told you the hypothesis? Why I wrote you the hypothesis? To refresh your knowledge on the way of writing the hypothesis. If the question asks, draw the conceptual framework, just draw the conceptual framework by naming the hypothesis. No need to write down the hypothesis. Hypothesis ලියන්න ඕනද ඔයාලා? Conceptual framework කිව්වොත් hypothesis ලියන්න ඕනද? නැහැ. මම ඔයාලට hypothesis ලියන්න ඉගෙනුවේ ඔයාලට knowledge එක refresh කරගෙන යන්න තමයි. ඉතින් past papers නිසා. If you have not been requested to null hypothesis at the exam, no need to write down the null hypothesis. Just write down the alternative hypothesis. In this case, no need to write down 8. You won't write down only 4. Null hypothesis. If there is a question regarding write the hypothesis, you just write the alternative hypothesis. No need to write down the null hypothesis. If it is not requested by the examiner. But I told you because since you need that knowledge for you to do a research in future. Okay, so we'll go to the H2. What could be the H2? There is a significant impact of overconfidence on investment decision of individual investors in Sri Lanka. H3, herding. There is a significant impact on herding behavior on investment decision of individual investors in Sri Lanka. Yeah, things that. Last one. Let me know. Disperception on investment decisions of individual investors in Sri Lanka. Now go to the next question.
Itu first one center. The hypothesis of clinical festival state. Develop ඊට පස්සේ ඔයාලා ඉලාස්ටික් ඩෙවලොප් කරනවා. ඉලාව ඒ hypothesis එක බලාගෙන තමයි analysis එක කරන්නේ. ඔය අත්ලා කියන්නේ significant නෙමෙයි. ඒක result. ඒක තමයි discussion එකේ කරලා කියන subject එක කරලා බලාගෙන significant එක. හැබැයි ආව significant නෙමෙයි plus diversion. ඒක hypothesis එක analysis කරන්න කලින් analysis කරන්නේ guidance movement එක විතරයි. කරන්නේ hypothesis significant වල ඒ තමයි සම්බන්ධ
These information also very helpful for you to develop your research proposal, right? What is exact? Unit of analysis, right? Unit of analysis. What is your unit of analysis? What is this research unit of analysis? What do you mean by unit of analysis? Samples, little bit okay. Unit of analysis. Group of people, okay. Certain extent correct. There is a difference between unit of analysis, population, sample, right? Unit of analysis reflecting from whom you are supposed to collect the data, right? From who? It might be sometime Rojit, it might be sometime individuals or else regarding a company, right? Regarding a company. We just identify. Unit of analysis. Might be sometime individual. Might be sometime individual. But sometimes it might be a company, specific one unit. Company. What do you mean by population then? Population then? Entire units of analysis, right? So that means if it is an individual, just take it as an investor. In this case, investor. Population means all the investors in Sri Lanka. All the investors in Sri Lanka. Here it is an individual investor. Individual investor. All the individual investors. There. This is what? This is your population. Right? Population. This is your population. Unit of analysis means a one particular unit. Right? Population means all the unit of analysis. Sample means can we access for entire population naman? Can you collect the data from each and every individual investor in Sri Lanka? No, you can't. So then you select out of these Sri Lankan individual investors, you select 380. What is this? This is your sample, right? You select investors in Western Province. This is Sri Lanka, and then you select Western Province. What is that? That's your sample, right? That's your sample. It's not the Sri Lanka, right? Here, I hope it's clear to you, right? Individual investor is what? Unit of analysis. A particular investor. Population means consisting all the individual investors. That means all the unit of analysis. Since you can't access for all the individual investors, you select a part of that individual investors. We call it as what? Sample. Right?
Is there question only the investors in the Colombo Stock Exchange?
Yeah.
So the sample investors in the Colombo Stock Exchange.
Yeah. Okay. If it is regarding companies, just take it as an example. Company, we'll just take manufacturing company. Manufacturing company. Manufacturing company is my unit of analysis. What might be population? All manufacturing companies in Sri Lanka. What might be my sample? Manufacturing companies in will take in the construction in whatever small industry, right? So what is that? That's your sample. You have to understand this relationship, unit of analysis, population, and the other one, sample. Okay. Lama, you can write down the answer here. Write it down. Unit of analysis reflect. Unit of analysis reflect. From whom? From whom? The researcher supposed to collect the data. Population means same line. Population means all of the unit of analysis, targeted for this research. All of the unit of analysis targeted for the research. Sample reflect a part of the population, sample reflect a part of the population for collecting data, since there are some limitations, to access for entire units of analysis in the population. in the population. For entire unit of analysis in the population. This is theory part. As per the above research, now next slide. Next paragraph, next slide. As per the above research, the selected unit of analysis was individual investors in Sri Lanka. Individual investors in Sri Lanka. Now, identification part done. This question identified two places, two action verbs. First one identify. That's done. Now what you need to identify? Explain the appropriateness of it. Is that relevant for this study? Now we write it down. Since the study target for to address behavioral bias on investment decision making. Behavioral bias on investment decision making. The appropriate unit of analysis is the investors. Unit of analysis is the investors who has the idea on investment decision, who has the idea on investment decision and practice this four behavioral biases. Accordingly, the identified unit of analysis is appropriate to test IV and DV of this study. Okay. Sixth one, what is it? Explain appropriate data analysis techniques in achieving research objectives. Research objectives we identify, those are focusing on relationship and impact. Relationship and impact. Last week you identified the data analysis techniques. Amisha, what are the data analysis techniques you learned? Correlation and the other one regression. Correlation run for to test what? To test the relationship, right? If you want to check the impact, what you want to run? Regression. So then, what would be the data analysis techniques here? Correlation and regression. Write it down. To achieve the research, Avisha, right? to achieve research question on to achieve the research question on relationship. To achieve the research question on relationship. Researcher wants to run correlational analysis. Correlational analysis via e-beams. E-beams. Next one, what is it? To resolve, second one, to resolve research question on impact. To resolve research question on impact. Researcher wants to run. What would that? Regression analysis. Researcher wants to run regression analysis via e-beams. Last one, last two. What is it as? Recommend a sampling technique. Recommend a sampling technique. We know there are two types of sampling techniques, probability and the other one non-probability sampling techniques. Probability sampling technique, there are four, but those are simple random, stratified, cluster, and the other one, what is it? System. Simple random, and then the other one systematic, and then the other one stratified and cluster sampling, and then the non-probability sampling techniques, purposive, snowball, quad sampling, and then other one, just there are one is nothing. Quad sampling, purposive, snowball, convenience. Yes. So I will upload that. So just to refresh your knowledge on sampling techniques, right? Sampling techniques. Sampling techniques. There are two types of sampling techniques. First one, simple and first one, probability. Probability sampling techniques. Right? The other one, non-probability sampling techniques. Okay. There are four probability sampling techniques and there are four non-probability sampling techniques. First one, probability sampling technique, simple random. simple random. Second one, systematic. Systematic sampling technique. Systematic. And third one, stratified. Stratified sampling technique. Last one, cluster. Cluster sampling technique. SD means sampling technique. Huh? Cluster. Non-proprietary sampling technique. Purposive. Purposive. Convenience. Here it is purposive. Convenience. And here it is snowball. Snowball. Give a ball. Snowball. That's the technique, right? Snowball technique. And last one, quad. Quad sampling technique. Quad sampling technique. We'll discuss later on. Quad sampling, give you OTA, quad sampling technique. Quad stratified or systematic. Systematic sampling technique. First one, simple random. Second one, systematic. Third one, stratified. And the last one, cluster sampling. Can anyone recommend out of these 8 what would be the appropriate form? Snowball. Why snowball? No. Okay. What would be the appropriate one? Convenience. Convenience means because of your easy purpose. But for the quantitative research, we are always trying to have a probability sampling techniques, right? Simple random or stratified or cluster or the other one systematic. What would be? Let's say justification. Sampling technique always justifiable. Whatever the thing you student wrote and then justify it properly, you get marks. Doesn't matter. What would be you learned those things in the previous year as well, several sampling techniques. Have you? Yes, I know. Systematic. What's your decision? Systematic. That's the case. Okay, we'll discuss a sampling lesson after the break, right? And then come to purposive, convenience, and then snowball, and the other one for the sampling. Since we have disputed lack on that one, we'll discuss the sampling technique, right? That's better. Okay, you can have your break and come back within 10 minutes, so then we can come. 10 minutes enough. So then we can complete the sampling. Now you can start writing past papers. Question number 1. That's very easy. Yeah, you can go and
Hello, madam.
Yes, I can hear you.
Madam, I have small concern about my topic, madam. Maybe you can assist me to sort it out, this, madam.
Yeah, sure.
My topic is, madam, the impact of management accounting practices on financial performance of hotel in Seychelles. I have again same topic, madam, the impact of budgeting practices, costing methods, and performance measurement system on financial performance of hotel in Seychelles. Which one should I?
So which one you select? So then I will tell my preference.
Because the first one is, it says management accounting practices.
It's broader one, right?
Correct. So that's why I want to break it down to the budgeting practices, costing methods, and PMS performance.
PNS performance.
Performance measurement systems.
PNL performance measurement systems.
No, madam, performance measurement systems.
Performance measurement systems. On
Let's say,
profitability.
yes, financial performance.
Which one you select?
The second one, madam, the impact of budgeting practices, costing methods,
Yes, I also
and
prefer the second one. So because rather than saying that the management accounting practices, if you can elaborate that one in a very creative manner, that's better. That's the first concern. That's my first concern. But my major concern is, does the companies maintain the management practices or management accounting practices in a substantive way? Is that relevant for the financial accounting performance? Have you read the articles? It's
yes,
true.
madam,
Normally the researchers are doing that. The companies having the management accounting practices, what happened to the financial performance? But we have to rethink again. Does the management accounting practices impacting for the financial performance? But rather analyzing financial performance, there are plenty of dependent variables which are impacted because of the management accounting practices. So that's my concern. Profitability වලට වඩා ඊළඟ financial performance වලට වඩා management accounting practices ඇත්තටම company එකේ බලපාන දේවල් තියෙනවා. ගොඩාක් fractional research topic ගොඩාක් අය කරන වැඩේ තමයි ඔය management accounting practices කියන financial performance වලට link කරනවා. But there are several research. Right? Several research or the several chances in the practical world because the definitely management accounting practices are impacting for sustainability. Right? We know that, right? Sustainable practices. Right? Likewise, there are several dependent variables you can address. Rather, identify it for the financial performance. That's my second concern. But if you want to continue as it is, you can go with the second one. But if you can rethink since you have the time, so if you can rethink management accounting practices for the other dependent variable, that might change the value addition for your research journey. That's my suggestion.
Okay, madam. Okay, understood. Thank you.
Right.
Hello, madam.
Yes.
Can I clarification my research topic?
Yeah, sure. Let me know.
My research topic, madam, impact of working capital management on of firm performance. Sri Lanka listed company.
Yeah.
I summarized the research proposal also. Can I continue this research proposal?
Yes, the thing is again, one of your friends also come with me and is working capital management practices. Right?
Okay, miss.
Normally, working capital management practices since it will be a more research topic, more researchers are doing that one. Right? But actually, working capital practices are needed to be researched, but not with the same title. Rather, saying for the working capital management, if you go to the practical world, there are several dependent variables which are linked with the working capital management practices which needed to be researched, rather working capital. Right?
Yes.
So, working capital කියන එක කියන දැන් මේ වෙනකොට ඉස්සරහම කරපු research එකක් තමයි working capital on the financial performance. දැන් working capital management technology එකක් විදිහට දැන් මේක enhance වෙලා තියෙනවා. The practices normally not the data collection, credit collection, cash handling, those are now in the practice. They are practice, but those are modified now. Then what you can do is you want to create a valid action for your research, what you can do, you change your working capital to new practice.
Okay, miss.
Then you search on that one and click in the financial performance. Then that is better.
Okay, miss. Okay. Understood. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, we'll start with the sampling. So, since you have some sort of idea regarding work, the sampling lesson, I thought to discuss in detail sampling lesson because there is a one question from the sampling lesson. So we'll discuss the lesson part and go to the last question of the 17C paper, right? So that is better since we have a limited idea regarding sampling technique. So we know population, right? We know population. What do you mean by the population? All of the targeted group that you are targeting for, since we can't accommodate on the entire population, we are selecting a sample which is a representative part of the population. So some of basic terms, unit of analysis very clearly given to you. Reasons for the sampling, why we are going with the sampling. What are the reasons? Exactly, destructive nature of certain tests, and the other one, you can cover the greater scope, time efficient, cost savings might be there, and then it's very, we know physically we can't access for all of the sensors in the population. And then especially you can go with the greater speed, right? If you are targeting for entire population in Sri Lanka, you can't never do a research. So therefore it's giving a greater speed, greater scope as well as accuracy and cost behavior if we are going with the sampling. Sampling means what? Selecting a representative part of the entire population. Just think in our example, the 17C paper, we had the all investors in Sri Lanka. But can we go with all investors in Sri Lanka? No, you can't. That's impossible. Right? So then what you need to do is you have to select a representative part from the Sri Lankan individual investors. Sometimes it might be the individual investors in Colombo district, right? Which called as a sampling process. Exactly, there are how many steps in sampling process? There are how many? 5, right? What's the first one? When you're doing a research also, first thing is you have to define what? Your entire population. After you decide your population, what? You have to decide the sample frame. What do you mean by sample frame? All list of all the items included in the population, right? If it is individual investors in Sri Lanka, you should have a what? You should have all investors, right? List of all investors in Sri Lanka, which called as what? Sampling frame, right? It should have. Otherwise, you can't select the sampling technique. So therefore, sampling frame means mass. Sampling frame means list of all the items included in the population. Third one. So you have to identify the sampling design, whether are we going with the probability or non-probability. And then sample size also very important. In your proposal, you have to mention your unit of analysis, you have to mention your population, you have to mention your sample, and then you have to mention your sample size, right? All the things are there. After you decide the sampling technique, you have to identify what would be my sample size. Am I going to collect the data from 100 individuals, 150 that need to be identified, and later on you have to execute the sampling process. Okay, we'll start with the sample size. How to design your sample size with the rational justification. Highly important, right? Since you have learned this one, you can tell me how you decide your sample size. First one is, if it is a primary data, definitely refer the Morgan table. You go to the internet and type the Morgan table. Read the Morgan table. First one is Morgan table. If you are going with the primary data, Morgan table. Primary data. Quantitative, qualitative, primary data. Definitely, if you are going with the primary data, you have to go with the Morgan table beside your sample size. Have you viewed the Morgan table? Okay, Morgan table, M-O-R-G-A, Morgan table. Right, but it says sample determination, right? Sample determination. There are two line items. There are two columns here. What are the two columns? Hope online students also can see my screen. There are two columns, capital N, capital S, right? What capital N reflect? Population. S means sample, right? For example, if your population consists with 10 items, what should be the sample coefficient? Sample is 10. If your population is 80, what should be a sample? 66. If your population is 1 million, what should be a sample? 384, that is the maximum. Right? So therefore, based on your population, you have to first identify how many numbers in my population. Right? Approximately take that balance and decide your sample size. Right? So this is must. If it is 290 individuals, you have to select which one? You have to select 290. It's not there exactly 290, but 291 is there. 290 is there. How many sample size? 165. Very simple. And then this is scientific method. So therefore, if we are doing a quantitative primary research, you have to go with the sample size determination with the Morgan table. But if your population is, right, consists with the companies, we know unit of analysis companies. So then how to decide your sample? What's the decide your sample? You can have the, if variable 15, then at least 15 into the variable number, the other one. At least 15, 15 is better. 15 into 15. How much is the sample size? How much is sample size? 15 into 15? 285. So therefore, if you are going with that, this can be applied, not compulsory, but sometimes you can apply 50-50 rule, right? If there are some different variables, 15 multiplied by 15, you can have the 185. But that is not that much relevant. But the very important thing is rule of thumb, right? Rule of thumb says what? If you are selecting a secondary data, very important for them. Most of you are doing the secondary data research. As a rule of thumb, your unit of analysis definitely we know if it is a secondary, unit of analysis is the company. As a rule of thumb, you have to select at least 30 companies, right? That is must. Rule of thumb, 30 companies. 30 companies if you are doing a secondary data. Secondary data quantitative. Secondary data, if you are going with the secondary data, right? In a quantitative research, you have to select at least how many companies. We know if it is a secondary data, you have to consider past data as well. The past data, how many data? Sometimes you might consider 5 years data, sometimes you might consider 10 years data. Likewise, anyway, anyhow, you have to consider 30 companies data for the past. That's a rule of thumb. For example, if you are doing a corporate governance research, you have to take the board size, independent, CEO duality for this, not this year, but for the 5 years. Right? When you are selecting that 5 years, at least how many companies you have to select from the CSC? 30 companies, right? 30 companies. Other than that one, you can use the software calculations. There are plenty of research softwares who are giving the sample calculator, so that you can take that support as well. And then regression analysis, very important the other part. Since most of you are doing targeting to do a regression analysis, right? The minimum data points to be considered for the regression analysis is 100, right? We know. So therefore, even if it is primary or secondary data, you have to have 100 data points. Data point 100 at the software example, right? If it is a primary data, right? If it is a primary data, 100 data points in the sense how many target individuals you have to consider. Here consider කරන්න වෙනවද අපිට ළමයි 100කකින් වල් data collect කරගන්නට වෙනවා. So therefore you have to consider minimum number is 100. But if it is a secondary data, what should be the minimum number of companies you have to have? Then අතන කියන 30 කියලා මෙතන කියන 100 කියලා. Contradictory. How to resolve this one? We know නේද? අපිට 30 companies ගත්තට අපි අවුරුදු 5කට කලින් ගන්න ඕන. අවුරුදු 2කට කලින් ගන්න. අවුරුදු 3කට data ගන්න ඕන. එහෙනම් 30 into how many companies? 30 companies into how many years? Minimally අවුරුදු 3ක්වත් secondary data ගන්නවා නම් ගන්න ඕන. Right? The most probable one is 5 years. That means 30 into how many years? 5 years. How many data points? 150 data points. So therefore, you have to consider that. Hope it is clear what I'm saying to you since you already learned about the regression analysis. Are you clear on what I'm saying to you, Kavisha? තේරුණාද නැද්ද? දැන් primary data 100ක් මේ ඕනේ regression එකක් run කරන්න කීයක් ඕනද? 100ක්වත් ඕනේ. එහෙම නැත්නම් run වෙන්නේ නැහැ. More you data, more reliable. Right? If you are running the regression with 360 in the sense, that is more reliable than the running the regression with the 100 data points. So therefore, if it is a primary data, minimum one for the regression analysis is how much? That is 100. So then you have to collect the data from minimum how much? Minister CA data collect karana. No. Second data. If we are running the regression with second data, we know rule of thumb give us a minimum companies are 30. Minimum, not the maximum. Minimum means 30. If it is minimum 30 companies, we need how much? We need 100 data points. Then the company data points can 30. So then we want to mark it as 100. So then how to mark it as 100? You multiply 30 years. You have to consider 30 companies last year's data, right? Minimally, how many years? 4 years, 4 to 5 years. That means 4 into 30 means 120 data points. So therefore, that is the minimum number. Kisan, what's the show? Last one. You can support with what? Literature. If you can't apply the regression rule of thumb, or then the Morgan table, you can take the support from the literature review or the base articles to support your number, right? Think it like this. You are doing a rare research, a very new one. But you are unable to decide the sample size based on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sampling techniques. But there is a one research article who said that for this kind of a research, you use this much of sample size. What you can do now? You can take the support of the literature based on the, just think it, Rojit 2016, as per his research, I will select the sample size as 100 since Rojit also have the tested the same research topic in 2016 with the same set of a sample size. That also can be possible by using the literature review. I කරලා තියෙන past papers වල මොකද කරන්නේ? sample size එක අරගෙන ඔයාලා consider කරනවා. This is what I taught you in the morning, right? What these are? There are two types of sampling techniques, right? First one is the probability sampling technique. The other one, non-probability sampling technique, right? So to whom can you use this probability sampling technique? Most probably quantitative researchers. Quantitative, primary, either primary or secondary researchers, secondary data users can test on the quantitative, can test on the probability sampling technique. That's a normal principle. But for the researchers, qualitative researchers, they normally use the non-probability sampling techniques based on the nature of their studies. Right? Nature of their studies, they are normally using non-probability sampling technique. But as a researcher, we can't limit you to the we can't limit you to the okay, you refer quantitative sampling techniques. I can't never say that like that. Time to time, this might be changed, but normally as a principles, we are using the non-probability sampling techniques. As a quantitative researcher, there might be some limitations in your research. So therefore, in selecting either probability or non-probability sampling technique, you have to be concerned. But again, the way we can researcher, how the time to time it might be changing. But as a practice, quantitative for the probability, qualitative for the non-probability sampling. First one, simple random sampling technique. You heard this one. How to apply the simple random sampling technique for the research? Quantitative researchers go with the probability sampling technique. The other one, if you do not have a sampling frame, you can't go with the Probability sampling technique. What do you mean by the sampling framework? I lectured you sampling framework. You should have a list of all the individuals in your population. If you do not have that one, you can't go with the probability sampling technique. Right? So then if you have the list of all the individuals in your population, you select randomly the individuals which we called as one. Simple random sampling. What a list randomly I select 1, 2, 3 individuals to select to suit for my sample size. මට 384ක් පොඩි මංගාව list එකක් තියෙනවා 3000. මම මොකද කරන්නේ? Randomly 384ක් select කරගන්න. That is what we called as what? Simple random sampling technique. Can we apply that one for research? Yes, in our investor case, 17C paper, all the investors in Sri Lanka. Can we apply the simple random sampling technique? Yes, we can. If you have the list of all the individuals, you can do the simple random sampling technique. So you have set of the advantages and disadvantages. You can read that one. Second one, stratified random sampling technique. Something different. You can't apply stratified random, simple random sampling technique if the population is heterogeneous. But you can apply simple random sampling technique if the population is homogeneous. What do you mean by homogeneous? Same characteristics, right? In this lecture, we all have the same characteristics, right? You all are third year first semester students. Normally, you have the same set of characteristics. If I want to do a research, right? If I want to do a research, what I can do? I can collect the data from you regarding the teaching practices. If I want to do a research regarding teaching practices and employ the student efficiency, so I can select you and do a research. So because I have all the list of the 18A batch, 18A third year first semester batch, I take the list and then I randomly select whatever the number for my sample. Simple random sampling technique is possible for your batch since you all have homogeneous characteristics. But the thing is, stratified random sampling technique. If I want to do a research on the SAT campus, the entire student efficiency. Now thinking, now you all SAT undergraduates are homogeneous or heterogeneous? Year-wise, knowledge-wise, or heterogeneous. Why? First year, they don't have this much of knowledge. Second year, something different. Third year, you all are different. But fourth year, they also another level. Then if I collect the data regarding my research from entire one, is that the representing a fair one? No, that's not. So what we can do? I divide September undergraduate into the 4 categories. Right? I divide my entire population into the 4 starters. What's the first starter? First years. Right? Second starter, second years. Third starter, third years. Fourth starter, fourth year. Now look at the first years. Are they all having homogeneous or heterogeneous from the knowledge wise? Now they are homogeneous. Right? Second years, based on the knowledge wise, they are homogeneous characters. Fourth year, homogeneous. I segregated my heterogeneous population into the homogeneous subgroups. Now from these homogeneous subgroups, to complete my sample size, I am collecting the data. 10 from first years, 10 from the second years, 10 from the third year, 10 from the fourth year. Now I have 40. Previous one, your case, simple random. You had 108, 120, I hope, right? 120 individuals we have for the 18A third year first semester. And then I selected 40 from entire one in randomly. Clear? But from the second one, stratify heterogeneous group divided into the homogeneous from the homogeneous list. Then homogeneous list, because why? I have all the first year name list. From that homogeneous group, I apply which one? Simple random sampling technique. Right? Heterogeneous into the homogeneous group. From the homogeneous group, how I'm selecting? By applying the simple random sampling technique. So there are two techniques then. Dividing the starters and then applying the simple random sampling technique, which we call as the stratified random sampling technique. Are you clear? Clear? Look at here, this is also same example, radio listeners, right? Heterogeneous group divided into the 20, 40, 20, 40, 30, and then 40 above, right? What happened? Hold up the radio listeners divided into the 3 subgroups. From this group, I'm selecting now 10, 10, 10 altogether, 30. To select this 10, I will apply what? Simple random sampling technique. Example, university undergraduate. Here also it can be done. The next one, systematic. You heard me about the systematic. Systematic. What do you mean by systematic? Systematic. You decide the intervals. Right? Can we decide the intervals for the selection if you do not have a sampling frame? Let me know. If you do not have a sampling frame, that means list of all population. Can you decide the intervals? No, you can't. Just imagine you have 120 in your population. You want to select 10. Right? You want to select 10. So then how can we select this 10? 120 divided by, just thinking, what is that? You have to calculate here the sample interval. We'll take the example here. If we want to select 10 students, how many do we need to select? 10 students. From how much? 120. Under the method systematic sample techniques, you have to first decide the sample interval. How to decide sample interval? We have 120 divided by sample 10, that is how much? 12. Interval is 12. What do you mean by interval? The gap between first selector and the other selection. Right? Every 12, I will select one. I will select my sample. If we take the first row, first one, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. I will select the first person 12 first. And then keep in my sample. Then I will going to right? Again, my second component done. Right? Third, I'm counting. Student is here, is higher. Pick up is 36. Right? Again, what I'm selecting? 36 into 12. What's the other one? 36, 48%. 48. Again, I'm keeping the interval 12 and then select 48 plus 12. Sixth one, 60. Sorry, fifth one, 60. Likewise, what I'm doing? The gap between previous selector and the new selector is 12. 12. Right? Or else that is the interval. To do that one, Kavisha, should we have a list or not? We should have a list. Therefore, Without the sample framework, we can't go with the systematic sampling. Are you clear on the systematic sampling? Okay. This is the what I give an example. Okay, cluster sampling. Cluster. Very interesting sampling technique. Most of the researchers who base their research on the geographical contents, right? They can go with the cluster sampling technique. One of your friends show me the SMEs in the SLFRS. Who is that? You are one thing. Her research topic is SME adaptation of Sri Lankan accounting standards on the SMEs in adaptation of accounting standards in SMEs, right? SMEs in Sri Lanka. Her research is regarding Sri Lankan all the SMEs. Can she contact all the SMEs in Sri Lanka? No, impossible. But SME in the sense small, medium organizations, no. But to cover this entire Sri Lankan world, at least how many provinces you have to select? 3 provinces. Right? See, she selected Western and then the Northwestern and then the Southern. 3 clusters, right? Now her entire heterogeneous divided into the not the homogeneous group where we have addressed it to the strategic sampling, the stratified sample sampling again into the cluster, right? Cluster in the sense, first cluster is Western province, right? Western province, we know how many the what we call districts. Western province, there are how many provinces, how many districts in the Western province? 3. What these 3 are? Colombo, Gampaha and the Halter. Right? Out of these 3, she selected Gampaha. Gampaha SMEs. Right? Let me know if she select, if we again cluster, if she divided the sample into another cluster, Gampaha SMEs, does all these Gampaha SMEs having the homogeneous characteristics? No. So that's the difference between stratified and the cluster sampling. The heterogeneous or entire group, you are dividing into not the homogeneous group, but the clusters, which has a heterogeneous characteristics. That's the difference. From the southern province, she selected the goal. And then northwestern Anuradhapura. Right? Now she selected Gampaha, Anuradhapura, something might wrong, but northwestern, I can't remember. So then the Anuradhapura and the other one, goal. Now she has targeting for how many districts? 3 districts. The goal, Anuradhapura, and then the other one, Gampaha. All these 3 groups, clusters, not the groups, actually that word is should be the clusters. These clusters are not having the homogeneous group. From that cluster, she can apply the simple random sampling technique and then collect the data. We call it as a one cluster sampling. Most probably, the researchers who are doing the research on the geographical basis can go with the cluster sampling. Now we'll move to the non-probability sampling technique. Very simple and very easy one. I don't want to go through the lecture materials. I will just explain one by one. First one, purposive sampling technique. Right? Purposive sampling technique. You purposefully address that group and share the questionnaire or share the interview guidelines and investigate the particular specific group purposefully. Right? What sort of a researchers doing that one? Purposefully investigate? Purposefully I'm not doing any sampling framework. No. purposefully collecting data for especially the marketing research. Just imagine recently we launched the BYD, right? If the BYD company want to conduct the research, why we are having a high amount of sales, you want to interview which people, or you want to share the questionnaire with which people? The persons who are using the BYD vehicles. No, right? Purposefully, you target your sample should be what? Your sample should be the persons who are using the BYD motor vehicles. Right? No, in a systematic way. You just go to the BYD person and then collect the data. That's it. Purposive sampling. Convenience. Convenience, as name implies. Convenience, why? Since it is very convenient to collect the data from that particular group, researcher targets that group and did the data collection. Lazy in the data collection. For example, most of our undergraduates are doing that. Why? They take the word, the financial and non-financial behavior, just like that, and their financial and non-financial attitudes of undergraduates. They use the word undergraduates, and then what they are doing? They are in the questionnaire with you all and their batchmates, and then they fill the questionnaire. Do they want a list? No list. Do they want the sampling framework? No framework. What you are doing? Filling your friend's questionnaire. Convenience. Is that scientific? No, it's not scientific. Right? So therefore, as a quantitative research, if you are taking the convenience sampling, there is a limitation for the generalization. Lazy kenekin data එකතු කරලා ඔයා generalize කරන ලංකාව undergraduates ඔක්කොම එමය කියලා සැප් එක බලන්න. හරිද? No. Just one example. So therefore, convenience sampling you can use, but there is a limitation for the generalization. Since that the collected data is based on your convenient purpose. Right? But some other researchers they can use. But if there are rare cases, right? For example, taxpayers, right? Individual taxpayers. Sometimes you won't be able to list down all taxpayers in Sri Lanka, individual taxpayers. From how can I take the individual taxpayer list? Can we get? No. In that case, what you are doing? Since it's convenient for you all, you share this questionnaire among the individual taxpayers who are near to you and then take the answers from them. That's convenience. That's possible, but there are some limitations. Convenience, then the other one, purposive. Very interesting one, snowball. Snowball. What do you mean by snowball? What's the behavior of the snowball? How it is started? Small one from the bottom of from the top of the hill. What happened? Falling. When it's get down one by one, what happened to the snowball size? It's getting larger, right? Same sampling technique, right? If I want to do a research on underwear, we know. So how can I identify this underwear, the individuals by going or else by listing all the things and by having a call to the next person to me? No, I can't. I have to spend at least 1 year to identify one person. එහෙම නැද්ද? මට එක පාට අඳුර ගන්න පුළුවන් underwear එකේ කවුරු හරි දන්න contact එකක් තියෙනවා. No, I can't. I have to enter that culture, wear that sort of sweets and all the things, and then have the contacts with them, and then identify one particular person, spending 1 year. After that, once I familiar with him, what happened? He will tell me, Hari. That's for it. ඊගොම එක්කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා ඊට පස්සේ ගෝල් වල තව එක්කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා ගෝලන් අර දැන් එයාමට දෙනවා next work එක. What happened? Now I have how many? 1 plus 3 4. Right? And then I went to the Colombo. and then contact the team, and then have my network. Nega per person, let me know 5 individuals in that area. Then what happened to my sample? It's now getting larger, right? Underworld came, prostitutes, and then sometime the some subcultures in Sri Lanka. When we are doing that kind of a research for that subcultures, we have to apply the snowball sampling technique. Hope it is clear. There another one. Right. Last one. Kisa. Snowball. Is that clear? How? නෑ පාතාල දෙන්නේ අමාරුවේ එක්කෙනෙක් හොයාගන්න. You can remember the example, so that's good. Enough of the example. Okay, the last one, that is quarter sample, right? Quarter means sometime we were received the quarters, right? For example, the previous recently we were received the quarter from each trial, and then the South Korea and all the things we received the quarter. Sometimes for the MAs or the MAs and then textile also we are receiving some quarters from other international countries, right? Sri Lanka, you send us 50 employers for this country for this year, right? And then same quota might receive for the Bangladesh, and likewise some international countries who have the high capacities, so they are giving us the quotas, right? What happened then? We have to anyhow fill that quota and let them handle that 50 employees, right? Likewise, quota sampling in the sense you segregate, right? You initially make the baskets, right? You initially complete or else you initially form many quotas. Okay, I need 50 from this particular category, 50 from the B employees, 50 from the C employees. For example, let's take employee performance. If we want to identify the employee performance and their behaviors in a garment industry, what we can do, we can give the quotas, right? Plant A, you give us a 50 quota, right? Plant B, MAS Tulhiria, you give us a 50 quota, right? Likewise, we form a quota, and then whatever the method using in this, the production department heads, they have to fill that the quota, and then they will send us for the initial sampling purpose. What we call that's a quota sampling technique, right? 4 sampling techniques from the non-probability and the other one probability 4 sampling techniques. Hope it is clear. Is that clear? Okay, now you can go to the 17C, the last question sampling technique. Which time means I know. What's time now? Okay, question number 6. What it regards? You have to identify what? Unit of analysis, sample technique for the given cases. How many cases are there? There are 3 cases, right? You can do this one. The missing part was the sampling. If I go through the first lesson, which covers the entire syllabus, so then including this question, you can do the 17C entire past paper, right? When you are coming to the next week, complete the 17C past paper and then come to the class. Or else we are doing the classroom 17C plus the other one 17B. I will start the 2 past papers there. Meanwhile, the other one, you all can now start your proposal writing. There are 3 samples. Now listen to that. How many samples are in the LMS page? There are 3 samples, right? Whatever the thing that you have done so far, right? you bring it to the next class, right? So then I will teach you the way of writing your proposal with the sketch that you have. You just identify some important points. So therefore, I will let you know the way of writing this proposal with the identified research topic and we'll develop it further. And then 14th and 15th week, we'll take the individual presentation of the students based on your proposal. And then that format also already uploaded to the LMS presentation format. Clear? ඔයාලා කරපු proposal එකේ presentation එකක් විනාඩි 5කට කරන්න, that's the work. If you are not doing the presentation, we are not taking your proposal as a continuous assignment. That's therefore compulsory, right? Meanwhile, if you have any question regarding your research topic from the sequence notes, you can contact me directly in the same method, right?